Okay. Okay. Yeah, the challenge, right?
Oh, okay.
1 second.
Greetings, everyone online. Welcome to the 9th Annual Black Sustainability Summit. You all know we've already shifted from another place in space, so I'm not ignoring those who are here. Just want to say hello and greetings. We are excited to have you all here to talk about the HBCU Justice 40 Fund Tracking Tool and go through the beta testing. For those that do have computers, if you have them, it's a good time to go ahead and take them out. We are a little behind schedule. That's not going to impact your presentation. Just wanted to let you all know that we're making here a little bit longer than expected. And as a point of housekeeping, the restrooms are down this hall, or if you want to discreetly go out this door and down that way you can. We have some snacks in the back, and then we have some bags there. So without further ado, I want to welcome up Dr. David Padgett, coming all the way from Tennessee. Dr. Padgett is the Associate Professor of Geography and the Director of Geographic Information Science Center at TSU. And we're honored to have him here today. This is a great opportunity for folks to look at how this mapping tool can be utilized. I'm gonna let him tell all about it, but just wanted to bring you up and thank you for your time and let you know other folks will be rolling in and we'll get them up from there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, so we have cameras everywhere here. So I'm Dr. David A. Padgett, Associate Professor of Geography and the Director of the Geographic Information Sciences Lab at Tennessee State University. One portion of our illustrious HBCU, where I've been for 25 years. And so in this capacity, I'm serving as a lead for the HBCU Environmental Justice Technical Assistance Collaborative. So we were brought together by Dr. Robert Bullard, most of you know, the father of environmental justice, a few years ago, specifically to tackle problems associated with mapping and using mapping as a tool in engineering. So we have engineers, we have economists, we have earth scientists, and so on and so forth. Based or affiliated with HBCUs. It's very important that we have an HBCU affiliation. But you notice every product that we create starts with HBCU. So we're clear in who is leading this effort. Just like everything Tyler Perry says, such and such by Tyler Perry, that's on purpose, you know, because you can't copy that, you know. All right, so I want to have the rest of the members of my team that are present, or our team who are present, introduce themselves before we go on. So I guess we'll start with Pam. Yeah, excuse me. Y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, well, since Dr. Archer, introduce yourself, please.
A second. So good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Reginald Archer. I'm Associate Professor also at Tennessee State University in the Department of Environmental Sciences, and I do GIS mapping.
Dr. Graham.
Hello, everyone. Tony Graham, currently driving my car. So I'm a retired associate professor at North Carolina A&T State University. My background is in architecture, civil engineering, and geospatial.
We have web content director, Ms. Shawnee Harris.
Happy Sunday, everybody. I'm not camera ready, but yes, I do web presence for HEJTC Collaborative. So running the LinkedIn page, we have a YouTube page now, logo creation, and all things social media.
Okay. Pam. We'll get Pam. I'm sure she'll be back. Okay, so we're just going to start with a little background on how this tool came about. So again, about 3 or 4 years ago, Dr. Bullard approached us because he had just received funding from the Bezos Earth Fund. And GIS and earth science kept coming up. And he said, well, we really want to have ownership of the experts in this area because earth science is the most underrepresented part of science, technology, engineering, and math in North Africa. Maybe less than 2%. But then everything we deal with in environmental justice is earth science. Air pollution, water pollution, climate change, destructive hurricanes that are made bigger by climate change, and on and on and on and on. And then also geospatial technology applications are also obviously represented there. So he approached me and asked me to organize a group of the top HBCU experts in this area. And so we started working on several tools, including this one. And so the tool I'm going to present to you today is the HBCU environmental HBCU Justice 40 funds tracking tool. Is everybody familiar with Justice? I need to talk about Justice 40 or
Yeah, we know about it.
don't have to go into it. So we know what Justice 40 is. So the question is,
No, I think some folks don't.
oh,
Yeah.
so I have the link here. So the Justice 40 is initiatives. It's part of the Inflation Reduction Act. It's billions of dollars that are sent through federal agencies to communities that presumably will improve those communities in terms of the environmental quality and life, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When we say environment, we're talking very broad. So out of those funds, 40% are supposed to, are meant to benefit disadvantaged communities. We have a lot of air quotes here today. So it's not, these are billions of dollars, and this is unprecedented. There's never been this much money, anywhere close to this much money directed specifically at environmental and environmental justice concerns for communities. But as usual, we have to keep an eye on them. And so the federal government was wanting to keep an eye on themselves, so they created this thing called the scorecard, Justice 40 scorecard, which is basically self-reporting on the part of the federal government. And of course, they're like, we're doing great, we're doing wonderful. Imagine if I let my students at TSU grade themselves. Great, I haven't been here all semester, but I thought about class, right? Hey. Right? So Dr. Bullard, again, when he saw the scorecard, said, this isn't good. We have to have a tool that can track these dollars. And so he commissioned us a team, can't leave off Dr. Paul Robinson, who is our main program he's at Charles Drew University of Science and Medicine in Los Angeles, which is one of the 4 Black medical schools, as you know. And so we're just releasing the tool now. You're the second group that's ever going to use the tool. So we're beta testing it. So you can, what I'm going to do is when I pull the tool up, I'm going to walk through some of what the tool can do if you have your laptop. Yes, the Wi-Fi password is all caps ABC Buckhead 2023. ABC Buckhead 2023. All caps. So yeah, so follow along. I'm going to follow along step by step. And that was one thing we learned in the first beta test was I walked into the room expecting that everybody was going to sit in their computers. There was no computers. And but you know, we gotta go with the flow. So some people brought their laptops, and we ended up really having a conversation as we walked through the tool, which is really what I want, you know, engagement, not just me standing up here, just had lunch and you're all dozing off. You know, we don't want that. Just be engaged. So I'm gonna pull, and my team is here, they can chime in, whenever possible. So without any further delay. So here's the tool, and of course, I'm assuming most people here are based in Atlanta. Not everybody, so we're gonna start in Atlanta, and if anybody wants to see any place, well, we have coverage for the entire country, but we're starting in the Southeast specifically because that's where we work, that's where the majority of HBCUs are. That's where the majority of, I'd say 65% of African Americans are still in this part of the country. But we have the data, we can easily populate, not right now, but later on, if you want to do your own data test, in touch with me and we can zoom in on your area. But if you're anywhere in Florida, Georgia, anywhere in the Southeast, we can zoom in. We're going to start in Atlanta. And so what we're trying to develop this beta test is the public facing part of the tool. And so I'm just going to demonstrate a few things that, so I'm going to zoom in on Atlanta. If you have any questions or comments, just jump in. Like I said, this is not meant to be a sage on the stage type of deal. So what you're seeing here are census tracts that are either disadvantaged or not disadvantaged based upon the CEGES definition of advantage and disadvantage. And so basically there are several criteria based on environmental impacts such as air pollution, water, et cetera, and also economic variables that would deem a community advantage or not disadvantage. Disadvantage or not disadvantage. Race is not among
There's three
variables.
in my personal experience, when I wrote the problems, I have profound.
Of course, race was not amongst those variables that were used by the federal government, which is why we were doing all this work in the first place. Okay, so one thing that you'll notice right away is that, well, here's Atlanta. I think we are somewhere up here. In the Buckhead area. So, and all of these are the funds that go to specific federal agencies that are part of the Justice 40 initiative. Okay, so you have U.S. Department of Agriculture, Housing and Urban Development, U.S. Department of Energy, Department of Interior, Department of Transportation, EPA, Health and Human Services, and so on and so forth. Right, so that's what those symbols stand for. Now, one thing is that if you're from Atlanta, you should probably not be surprised at all at where the disadvantaged tracts are toward the south and west and somewhat in the southeast. But I'm pretty sure the second thing that you'll probably notice, and jump in here anytime if you have a question, is that not all of the disadvantaged, not all of the funds, clearly, not all the funds are going to disadvantaged tracts. So this is the only way that you're going to see this, you know, and this is exactly what we want communities to see, because even though we HEJTC created this tool, we don't live in Atlanta, we don't live in Houston, you know, we don't live in, well, you know, Dr. Easy, but, you know, I mean, we need, as far down as we can drill is to a zip code area. Right? To a zip code area. So, for example, okay, well, let's see. Does anybody in Atlanta want to give me a zip code?
30311.
30311.
And-
So this tool is searchable, so we're gonna go here. 30311. And so there's 30311 zip code area. So what you're seeing is the red outline is the zip code area.
Dr. Padgett,
Yes.
here's a question.
Yes. Question.
Did you give us the link to this one?
Oh,
Some of us have our devices there.
um. Okay, so 30311, Atlanta, Georgia. That zip code area only got a couple of awards, and they're both from HUD. As a matter of fact,
Wow.
if you zoom out, it's one thing that you'll notice is that in almost every census tract in Atlanta,
It's fun.
it's HUD.
Huh.
You know, what I mean, HUD, where we can, so the question is, okay, so 303, this is where we were, so let's see what's going on here. So you click on this icon. And so here's the information that you'll get. So this is Department of Housing and Urban Development. And it says here, housing for the elderly contract renewals. Providence Manor Development Corporation. And so they got $331,412. So
They got how much? $331,000. And who are
Yeah.
they again?
they're the Providence Manor Development Corporation. So of course, I don't live here.
But
You live here. So
It might be Providence Church, they said it's on Benjamin Lane.
Yeah, that Providence Church.
They haven't said a word.
So this is exactly what the tool is supposed to do. So you can use a tool, figure out, well, who got this money? Well, and you might find, oh, they're doing wonderful things, or you might find. Didn't we see him in a new Cadillac last week? You know, so-
Right,
no,
right.
not that much. You know, but,
Yeah. Providence Manor.
yeah, so. Yeah, so we can see, and also if you want to dig deeper, you can go here to awardee ID. And then go to, then you go to the site called usaspending.gov. And then go to explore the data by recipient. Paste that recipient ID number there. And there it is, Providence Manor Development Corporation. Well, let's see what's going on there. They got a total of 781,000 transactions over time. And so really, we're looking at the period of time really since the Biden administration's been in office. So we still got some money prior to, and then we can actually track how much money they've received over time. And so you can, yeah, exactly, transparency is what this is all about. And so here's something else. I was wondering, like, well, what's this here? That's interesting. It says others, right? So what's this? So I clicked on there. And this is the Department of Health and Human Services. And the awardee is actually Emory University. And Emory got $1,334,458 to do what? We don't know. Says here they're working with the ATSDR on something. Well, let's see what that is. Isn't that interesting? And if you notice, this is not in a disadvantaged tract. And we can, and one thing that you should focus upon is something that's called the PPOP scope. So that's the primary place of performance. So this is where these recipients say, we're spending the money, right?
And which one is that again?
This is Emory University. Which A is not in the disadvantaged bracket. Most of these awards are not in disadvantaged bracket. So how else would anybody know that unless you put it on me? This is the whole point of this.
Right.
But and so also, remember the federal government's smallest level geography procedures is the zip code, is the block group, right?
Right.
But the reporting is the zip code. So zip codes and census tracts do not align. So let me see if I can click through this. So here we have, so we're going to go here. So there is the zip code area. Now no, that's the census tract. I'm sorry. See if I click one more.
This tool allows us to.
No, that's the zip code. So notice that's the zip code area. There's the census tract. Now, what's interesting is, okay, I don't know about you. 96% poverty.
What is it?
21% in this particular census tract. 21% are Black. It's not disadvantaged. 96% of this people in this neighborhood are in poverty.
That's not true.
21% are Black, but it's not disadvantaged according to the government. So these are the type of things that need to be exposed, right? Now, could be a good thing, bad thing. Maybe, hey, it's not disadvantaged, but Emory University got this money. Well, what are they doing? We don't know. We have no idea, right?
Who are they considering?
So,
Are they considering the students themselves as part of this number?
who knows? So let's go to awardee ID.
Those of us who know Emory University, when you think about, poverty, I don't think that's around Emory University.
Talking about some own pharmacies right now. The other lot, and the other lot as well.
Let's see, Emory University, let's see, they got,
But see, Emory's also the main university that's leading the west side lead contamination. The west side was put on the Superfund site for EPA in 2021. And so they are leading that west side lead.
yeah, so this is where obviously further investigations needed at a community scale. Because it really doesn't say, what they're doing.
And they say who they may be partnering with?
The Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry. And so this tool is meant to spark investigation and questioning. Now you know where the money went and who got it, what are they doing with it? Well, that, you all can handle that part, you know, yes.
Is there a contact so that we can reach out to the PI of the grant to then reach out to them directly to inquire? Show you what the application was within time.
Yeah, like I said, this can spark further research.
This is on the rabbit hole. Like to pull up the application. And how the grants is what they said they were going to do. But it actually follow through.
Yeah, and that's another thing is that you're only gonna get, but I mean, there are enough keywords here. You have the amount. You have that it's Emory University, ATSDR, Office Community Health and Hazard Assessment. So with those key terms, you can find out, you know, eventually. It's not, yes.
So as far as disadvantage, do they consider like elderly people disadvantaged? Because I noticed a lot of these grants are going to like housing for the elderly, contract renewals.
Oh, yeah, I mean, an environmental justice community could be considered, you know, population 65 years of age, most depending upon what it is. So, I mean, there are lots of things like, say, vulnerability to disaster. The most difficult populations to evacuate are people who are elderly, because they can die during the evacuation, as was happening in Houston one time. If you look at Hurricane Katrina, the overwhelming majority of people who passed away in Hurricane Katrina were 65 years of age only. Couldn't get them out. Some people drowned in nursing homes, in their beds, which is sad. And so, based upon, of course, we know that 90% of the fatalities from COVID-19 were people 65 years of age. 90%. So there are special cases for that being an environmental justice population. So I'm not saying that, but we don't know what they're doing, you know, but you can find out.
Okay.
And it could be something great. It could be they're doing great things, or maybe they're not. I mean, we don't know. So, but like I said, this tool at least gives you some place to start, and you can play around with it. And then of course use the USA spending.gov site to dig, as you know, a little bit deeper, if you will. And so anybody want to give me another zip code?
The USA Spending page on the Justice for Your Words site, or is it? For easy access?
Okay, I'll send a note to Dr. Robertson. That's why we do these beta tests.
So that way you don't have to vote. All right. Dr. Padgett, they were just asking, we might as well see if we could locate the PI.
Oh, yeah.
And then, maybe just for the, principal investigator.
Oh, now, as far as going past, you know, the community level research, you know, that's, and most of the time, what I've found in environmental justice work is people just need tools. Because, you know, you all know who to call already, who your congressperson is, whoever is, and how to be civically active and effective and how to do research. You just need the tools. And so Dr. Archer and I also do a workshop through the Deep South Central Environmental Justice called the Water Justice Training Institute, where we train community-based organizations all over the country about flooding. And you'd be amazed. You would think that people who live in vulnerable areas along the coast, yeah, they're used to hurricanes, but a lot of people just don't understand, like, okay, if a tropical storm is coming, are we okay because it's not a Cat 5? I think Hurricane Florence came through northern South Carolina a few years ago. It was a weak Category 1, but Florence hung around and dropped 40 inches of rain deep inland. So there were people who were nowhere near the storm center who got flooded out, who did not evacuate. Because they, just like the people in this case in North Carolina and Tennessee with Helene, that was a difficult situation. Because who living in Asheville, North Carolina, is thinking about a hurricane, right? Now, when I saw it on the news as a meteorologist, I said, oh my God, that's gonna be horrific, because the Hurricane Center did show that they were gonna get 30 inches of precipitation in those mountains, in those deep crevices, mudslide. I mean, I knew that was gonna happen, but was that correct? You know, I mean, it's just not something that people are used to doing, like in the Gulf Coast region. So, as a matter of fact, the first workshop we did was the Gulf Waters Justice Training Institute. And then people from all over the country said, we're having flooding in Detroit, we're having flooding in Seattle, we're having flooding in Chester, Pennsylvania. So we expanded it. And so, yeah, so, and we've had community people who are not hydrologists like I am, take the data that we've trained them with and literally shut down highways that were gonna go through their communities because they showed that the highway was gonna increase flooding. I mean, without the shadow of a doubt. Stopped landfill permits, which is almost impossible.
Right.
And we're talking about a group of the Unity and Family Ministry, men and women of the cloth, pastors. That's who stood up in that county commission meeting and shut that highway down. And the people who were trying to get the permit were in total shock. It was like what happened with Alabama last week. They were in complete shock. They just knew they were going to win. Matter of fact, let's just take the JV to Vanderbilt, right? And you saw what happened. You know, that's the reaction you got in other people. So USA spending that
Yeah, and that could definitely go in that tutorial.
yeah, that's like I said, we're developing a tutorial through these sessions. So let's see. So thank you for that. 30344. So here we are. Let's see. Well, what's this? Oh, this is interesting. What's that? Let's see what that is. No, I think maybe. Maybe that doesn't look like.
And then too, as you zoom out of Dr. Padgett, you see how there's a lot of the blue shaded. So how do we have disadvantage and then like all that disadvantage around that non-disadvantaged point? For example, right?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Because the question is, how can, I mean, in some cases, it could just be open land, but in other cases, it's like, how can we have all this disadvantage around here? But then that's not disadvantage.
Right.
And all this disadvantage around here, and then that's not disadvantage. And then all this completely, and this is the exact same question that we so let's see. So here we have, this is the census tract. So notice it says number of CGIS criteria exceeded 0, number of CGIS categories exceeded 0. So those various categories include things such as flood risk, air pollution risk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Apparently, in this census tract, they don't have those problems.
They got a bubble in the air?
Yeah, but yet 29% of the population is in poverty, and it's 95% black. But it's not disadvantaged. No, so these are the, this is where we have to make arguments that, I mean, so technically, in theory, even though you've got 95% Black, 29% poverty, which is above it, significantly above, right? Not just that 1 in 3. So so part of the issue is that, remember, the CGIS tool is the climate and economic justice screening tool. It's not climate and environmental justice screening tool. So all it takes for some communities is just a little bit of gentrification.
That's it.
Just a little bit of gentrification.
Or just a higher income of Black folks. But if you think about where that area is, that whole.
Yeah.
Swinging area, you know, in terms of kind of that.
Exactly, so because it's economic justice, you could have a small cohort of the population that's either gentrifiers or, as you say, you know,
Like Cascade.
upper middle, and then you cross the street and you've got a completely different situation now. So you have people in gated communities living down the street from, you know, 80% Section 8 voucher multifamily housing. And then, but somehow, because it's economic, to tilt the scale just enough that, I mean, technically, that community does not qualify for any of this money, technically. And so there was a discussion as to whether or not the federal government would really stick to this, or would there would be some flexibility. Another thing that my team is doing right now, and Dr. Lee was part of, is we've been brought in as consultants for EPA on the community change grants. Is everybody familiar? Okay, this is a good class. It's an honors class. So as these communities are applying for the community change grants, actually Dr. Archer and I are some main people who do the math. You know, so what EPA is doing is they're looking at those maps from the applicants. And if they don't see enough disadvantaged tracks, sayonara, you know, no, you're not going any further past that map. And so there are some cases where there might be a cluster of census tracts that have those kind of characteristics, but they won't even look at the application. Now, this is not, the EPA has recognized that the CGIS has its limits. So now there's the EPA Inflation Reduction Act layer, which takes some other things into account beyond the CGIS tool. So you will see, perhaps in the EPA Inflation Reduction Act layer, there might be greater coverage in these particular areas than what we see here, maybe. And so actually, the main tool that we're using is the environmental justice screening tool. Everybody familiar with EJ Screen? So EJ Screen, how confident, and then these live things, you click the wrong link and oh, here we go, right? But if we have time, I might pull EJ Screen up later on. But Dr. Archer is on the advisory board for the environmental justice screening tool. And EJ Screen is actually the data that's in CGIS comes from EJ Screen. That's what determines these criteria. So let's go to a track that is disadvantaged, supposedly. Here. So in this track, you have 5 CGIS criteria exceeded. So again, that could be flood risk, that could be a number of things. Yeah, that could be a number of. Yeah, there's a whole list of criteria that will push the community into the disadvantaged area. And if I pulled up the EJ screen, you can see a lot of, yes.
How can you tell if it's like, does the shading change whether it's a zip code or a census tract?
No, the. It's the same, so that's the zip code area,
Okay.
apparently not, so. Another note. Yeah, the borders are different,
Gotcha.
and then when you click on them.
Maybe like a label at the top, next to where it says 2 of 2, in that blank space, you could say like zip code, census tract. Cause that's what switches, right? When you go from 1 to 2 to 2 of 2.
Yeah, that's a function inside of ArcGIS Online. So, but yeah, I think we're gonna add the census tract in here.
Okay,
That's what we found out in Houston.
gotcha.
And then, of course, then you get the zip code area. And then, to be honest, we didn't have zip code areas as a selectable layer at first, but then we did the first beta test. People know where the zip code area is. I mean, how many people know what census tract? So that way we can say, let's go to your zip code area. Okay, let's look at what's happening. If you're concerned about what's happening in the zip code area, then you can drill down to the census tract. And then on this side, as we can slide through time and see the funds that have been distributed over time. And as you can see, as we get closer to today's date, you know, the amounts of money get higher and higher. And we can actually see the amounts of money that were awarded at different periods of time. And so this database is updated quarterly. So every quarter, the funds that are awarded through Justice 40 are updated. And so then well, Dr. Robinson takes those data and puts them into the tool. And so that's something that we are working on right now, is sustaining the updates. And that's one reason why it's anytime you build a tool, you have to sustain it, and that costs money. So, and we're pretty sure that that's not going to be a problem moving forward.
Is there a set number of programs that it could be? So like I see housing for the elderly contract renewals. And then other categories. Like if you look back in 30344, all the money, like both of the things, if you pressed it, it would have said housing for the elderly contract renewals. So it's like all the money's going to that. So like, I don't know if you could group by that or something, group by program name.
Oh, search by program name. Yeah. In this tool, it's based upon geography, but if you go to I believe at usaspending.gov. Yeah, you can explore the data by agency, by federal accounts. There are several search selections that you can do in usaspending.gov to determine, you know, where specific agency the money's coming from. So yes, but not here. Is there anyone who is from an area outside of Atlanta that wants us to take a look? Anyone?
Yeah.
Yes. Is, which state is that in?
Ohio.
Oh, I don't think, we don't have Ohio up now. We can get Ohio up.
Oh, that would be-
Yeah, we have it. We have it embargoed. But because our beta testing is starting in the south, so, but if you contact us, we can populate it. And so all of our tools are customizable, and that's, they're not just static, so you can literally work, this is a living tool. So you can contact actual people, and we'll answer the phone, and we'll give you whatever you want. It's not like, you don't have to prove you're not a robot, you know. You ask a robot to prove you're not a robot, we do that all the time. There's another hand up? 33080.
Oh, but it is a couple in there, that have been awarded that are in a non, are those HUD?
Yeah, it's probably both, looks like they're both HUD.
Elderly.
So now with this, we can begin, and we have to look for the management of the plan and start asking for.
Yeah, this is an interesting, so again, what is and is not, who is and is not, who is and who is not disadvantaged under this program is, you know, it's defined by the Council of Environmental Quality. And remember, race was not, so imagine in some of these communities, if race was a variable that would make the community disadvantaged, which goes and flies in the face of anybody that's been studying environmental justice knows that in the majority of the literature says that race is the greater variable, not economics. You know, and there's case after case after case of middle and upper class African American communities that still have landfills, everything else that we wouldn't want in the community, even though they're well off. And then, well, let's just look at history. We need to know it's not, tell my students, I know it's not February. And, yeah, I have students from Atlanta. And I asked one of my students, I said, why you got, I said, who was the airport named that? I'll put into the importance of the voters' right. And I said, so we were getting into the importance of the Voter Rights Act, which unfortunately a lot of our students have no clue, right? So you vote, right? So I had 3 students in my class who were from Atlanta. I said, well, who is your airport named after? They're 18. They never complained from their life. So they said, well, we know it's Hartsfield Jackson. I said, who's Jackson? Andrew Jackson?
Oh, and.
I said, I said, no, it's not February. But if you think your airport is named after Andrew Jackson and not Maynard Jackson, I know it's not February, y'all. But this is why you're at HBCU.
Right.
It might have gone down differently at another school. So, yeah, so we had to talk about how, you know, Mayor Jackson being elected completely transformed the city. That it had it not been for the Voters' Rights Act and Black people actually now having the rights that were bestowed to us in the 14th Amendment actually enforced. Now you get a brother that completely transformed the city. would not have Black Mecca without me. Everybody knows, right? Picking the land, right? So, but yeah, Andrew Jackson. Well, Andrew Jackson was the opposite.
I have another zip code.
Oh, yeah, okay.
30721.
Oh, do we,
No, 75. You sell.
okay, we got some music. Okay, sorry. I'll get to what was it again?
30721.
Yeah, I'll get to the zip codes. 37, 307. Oh, it's Dalton. Oh, that's interesting. What is that?
That you sell.
It's USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture, Environmental Quality Incentives Program, Climate Change,
They got five.
Limestone Valley Resource Conservation Development Area Council Incorporated. Can we get some answers? Oh, so let's see, they got about $30,000. You got this $150,000. Yeah,
Conservation area.
also not in a disadvantaged track. But but it gives you a start to do an see where some of this money went. What are they doing? Well, we don't know, but we can find out. Because we,
Yeah, I just want to bring up a good point, because I do work for a local government entity. Most of that money, even though it's being awarded to these organizations, a lot of it is going to be sub-awarded to other organizations who are not in that community. So even though the work may be done in that community, the money's not going.
yeah, that's one thing that's why we need local input, because only you would know that. But now you have a tool that you can show unequivocally what's happening in some of this money. Let me get a zip code that's in the chat. Yo, another phone?
One more question. So do you have a way for contributors like us that can, add to this data, but maybe you guys have a background filter to validate this data? Because I can see, the value in us adding to this.
Yeah, we can explore that. I hadn't thought about that. Because we were really thinking that people would take this thing and run with it and do whatever. But if we could say, have some form of documentation that says, well, we use this data and we found out that whoever this is, this recipient isn't actually contributing to the community. And you can show that, and then we can, yeah, there's a possibility that we can document case studies of community results that
Yeah.
success stories, maybe.
And where the money is being sub-awarded to.
And find, Yeah, we could probably put that maybe, a message board of sorts, shared space, so that people can see, oh, here's what they did in Atlanta, here's what they did in wherever, okay, or Ohio.
And then all the awards, they come with summaries in the system. Maybe you can pull some of the summaries of them, so that we could see the summary and not have to go. Because all of the awards have summaries.
Okay, thank you for that. So we're going to, let me grab some of the chat zip code areas. Let's see, we've got, well, we don't have the Virgin Islands. We've got 32805 in Orlando, Florida. So again, a lot of HUD. Some in the disadvantaged track. What's in the disadvantaged track? This looks like DOE, Department of Energy, Energy Storage by the Orlando Utilities Commission, $3 million for energy storage.
Scale storage. Utility scale storage.
Yeah, who knows what the, yeah, so it's in a disadvantaged track. I don't know what energy storage is doing for folks to benefit them, but I don't know, maybe, I don't work for DOE, but you can find out. This, okay, we've got, I don't think we have Virginia 30310. Yeah, pretty much all HUD. Pretty much all HUD, so.
Yeah. But that's interesting because if you think about Atlanta, what's the conversation? Affordable housing, lack of affordable housing. There are a lot of groups seemingly accessing HUD funds to build housing. The question now, will it be affordable?
Well, it'll be affordable, but how you define affordable is the problem, right? Then they got 250,000 as affordable.
These are the credit evaluation. Please fill out, please. I know how we all feel about evaluations, but we have to have them so we can make this tool as good as possible. Yeah.
I give one more zip code.
Oh, yes, yes.
33142.
Oh, Miami. Ooh.
I skimmed it, I saw a lot of elderly, but I never
Yeah, pretty much.
All HUD too.
All HUD too.
hey, right.
These schools, trying to pass these evaluations out for you.
30331.
30331. They've got some disadvantage here in the eastern portion. See what sweet moves. The darker reads of the more disadvantaged. Yeah, so there's a tract. Wow. Yeah, I mean, these are some really strong case. Now, like I said, the EPA Inflation Reduction Act layer might.
What's that one say?
Because here's one that's 49, this is a tract that is not disadvantaged. Half the people are in poverty and 99% Black, but it's not disadvantaged. But like I said, the EPA Inflation Reduction Act layer might, yes, perhaps.
So this is tied to this,
This
CU,
C-
but not.
Yeah, no, not the EPA, not that. So maybe, because I've noticed, well, since we're in, let me just throw the EJ's environmental justice. Let's see something. While we're here. And I'm on this thing all day, every day. The 30331, was that it?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go here. So this is the EJ Environmental Justice Screening Tool. So notice here is the CGIS layer. And then let's see if there's any difference. No, it's pretty much almost the same. Almost the same. So the EPA IRA disadvantaged communities layer is, was created to broaden the scope beyond just the CGIS to kind of, yeah, it's very, very similar. Yeah, so we only have, a little bit here that the IRA, this one that's not covered by the CGIS, but almost that entire area in the CGIS are the same. You got a couple out here that are EPA IRAs but then a lot of them are exactly the same. You see that track we were looking at? That track we were looking at, I think was this one. Yeah, I think this is that same tract. Of course, race isn't in here, but you still have the 49%. It's probably the same one because it's the same as the 49% poverty. So that's that same tract, still not disadvantaged in either the EPA Inflation Reduction Act layer or the CGIS layer.
For the EJ screen, places like airports or like that blue south of East Point, we're thinking is maybe the airport. All of that blue area.
Yeah, that looks like, that is the airport.
What is the airport?
Yeah, so probably very few residential properties.
And then that one little blue to the top. Maybe the other airport.
Like here.
Charlie Walker.
No, that's it.
Oh, Woodward. Okay, that's the old private school that was opened up in the 60s here in Woodward. Desegregation of the schools. That's how Westminster up this way was started and Woodward on the south side.
Someone raised their voice.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, Pam.
Hey, I just wanted to make an observation as I was listening and looking at all these sites. Some of the information is better reported, I think, by some agencies than others. And I also think HUD in particular has more of an on-the-ground community engagement process because a lot of communities have community development block grant money, CDBG. So I think when people are looking to build affordable housing and in their communities allocate that CDBG money, there's more interaction with HUD than perhaps EPA or Department of Energy or the other agencies. And I don't have data to support that, but I know on the ground, most communities, many communities have CDBG money. And so when someone goes to HUD and says what's available, they get the full package of what's available, whereas it's a little harder to get to EPA and DOE.
This is Erica, and so I know for a fact that the city of Atlanta is an entitlement city specifically for CDBG funds. So without fail, the city of Atlanta will automatically get a cut of non-competitive dollars that will hit the city of Atlanta every year. For community groups, what that means is every year, the city of Atlanta will then turn around and offer CDBG funds to do work. And I think they just closed that cycle. So that may too have a lot to do with Atlanta being an entitled city, which of course again means they don't have to compete for CDBG funding like other cities do.
So that would show up through HUD. That could be it. So that's why we need community input. So I want to respect other presenters' time. So let's, so please, I don't have any incentives. I've been in those conferences where you can't eat, so you fill out the certain people. Not gonna do, I don't have that kind of power here, but, please, when you fill out the survey, just return it back into me. And, again, I'd like to thank everyone online. And, if you came in, yeah, so this is these are my contacts. Again, please, get in touch with me if you want, us to come to do a beta test. If you're not based in Atlanta, or we can come back here. And so, I think I've emailed this to, the conference organizers, and they can just, you can send it out to everybody. You have the link to the tool and my information. And here's the link to this is some background Justice 40. And there's a link to EPA spending.gov. And so I'll be around for the rest of the day. And so if you have any further questions, just let me know. And can I get just one quick, can I get a selfie real quick? Just
Yes.
you don't want to be in yourself.
You want to get closer, Dr. Padgett? Come on, one of these other roles.
Okay. Take it. Oh, okay. We'll have we'll call when somebody takes a picture.
See, I need to sit down so let's see.
We wanna do that, you want? Now maybe everybody can stand up. Greens.
Green.
All right, thank you, Christine.
Thank
All
you
right,
so
thank y'all.
much, Dr. Padgett. Y'all give him a round of applause.
Thank you all.
Dr. Padgett, what you shared was very, very, very important. I know I'm looking forward to using this map and calling some folks out. Thank you to your team online. Thank you, y'all.
Thank you all.